Hey, Glenn, do you know that, is he coming here? There he is. Do you know that there are parts of British Columbia that it's mandatory to have winter tires?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, I thought at one point it was at least all weather, but
Yeah, I
for
think
sure
it.
winter. If you're on your way up to Whistler, you have to have winter tires on.
Oh, you even up to Whistler?
Yeah.
Oh,
That highway gets hit pretty hard, and that's where the issue becomes. I see the first snowfall in Saskatchewan. As soon as the CFL season ends, winter is allowed to arrive.
well, it's funny. I was saying the one thing I was thinking about today after shoveling, it just happened that my son, daughter, and wife all smoke bombed out first snowfall of the year. I'm like, oh, I guess I got this. Is that Mitchell Bowl that was here last week between Laval and the Regina Rams? That's like the right. Laval could be landing in this. They missed it by 4 days?
Yeah.
And then it would have been like, welcome to Sasky, and you would have had the Sasky guys, handlebars, no undershirts, just looking rough. Yeah, no, it's and you know what? Really, Grey Cup at Winnipeg next year. That's a roll of the dice when it comes to weather. Where do you want to start with the Grey Cup? Like, I know you being with TSN, I'm wondering if you have any insight on the ratings and the number it got. And we talked earlier about how the halftime show, it really spiked. I thought the halftime show was unbelievable. Not a Jonas Brothers fan, but It looked really good. They did a great job. Just, where did it rank ratings-wise, Glenn?
Yeah, a big success, a really big success. And, I thought it'd be interesting to sort of touch on that today, because I know there are some people, I know it's a real media thing in our country to talk about CFL ratings, but with RDS, I didn't see the final RDS number, but with them, it looked like it got over 4 million. So that's,
wow.
Just average viewers watching the game, the whole entire game. And then it would spike in that ratio, it spikes at around 10. If you're looking at 4 on average. So, you're basically a quarter of the country is watching at some point parts of that game, usually at halftime. The Jonas Brothers, they're getting great reviews. And, I'm talking to young people in music. My son's in music. He's 30. That's the demographic everybody wants. And he loved it. He said they were fantastic. It looked huge. It looked... their staging was excellent. So, yeah, that's all positive. And, I thought the crowd was great. The festivities through the week, they estimate that around 500,000 people enjoyed some or part of the festivities. And maybe the most important part, and I hope that all the owners and general managers and presidents were watching how Amar Doman put this on in Vancouver and his team, because there were day after day on the weekend, 4,000 to 5,000 kids in this huge sort of football exhibit where there was monster slides and you could run a 40 with your buddy, or you could throw the ball through the hoops and the tires. And They had all these different things. And those kids, each one of them getting an orange T-shirt that had a BC Lions logo on it for branding. I mean, you're talking about probably 20,000 10 to 12-year-olds that most of them may have been introduced to the game for the first time. I think that was huge.
That's the one thing I saw on Twitter was all these kids. Someone had a video and it was like, look, and they all got BC Lions T-shirts, and I'm like, boom. Then I started cringing thinking about when the CFL backed out of the Regina Youth Flag Football League. The fall. The CFL had it. It was all CFL teams. And then they said, no, we don't really want to go after the youth, the young kids. It's like, I hopefully those people are long gone. Like, that was like 7 years ago. Yeah, I don't know where their marketing degree was from, but wow. So let's get into the game. Yeah. And going in, right, like there was 10.5. I think the first time we talked last week, 10.5, and went down to 9 for a spread, but not many were thinking the Argos would stay in this. Not only did they stay in it, they were the better team by far, and ended up the score was the spread was the other way.
Yeah, and congratulations, by the way, because I remember on Thursday a certain Barney putting some, just a little bit of money, a little bit of cash on the Argos with the.
Well, no,
Very
nice. You know what happened? I bet the line because it was going down. I bet the line at 9.5, Glenn, and then the missus and I watched the Tyson fight, had a few gins. I hit the money line Friday night. I just played the Argos. I was like, if you're going to be a cowboy, be a cowboy. And I just took the Argos money line.
Barney's buying for the next big dinner. I love it.
Western pizza. Here we go.
Yeah. You know what? The game was interesting because, people will quickly forget that going into the fourth quarter, it was a 4-point game. And that's right around when Zach hurt his finger. Now, that's not an excuse. I think there'll be a lot of questions in Winnipeg, first of all. Let's start with the team that didn't win. There's going to be some questions like, should Zach have gone back in the game? Very, very difficult one for Michael O'Shea and Zach to deal with, because the player in that scenario, unless the finger is completely fallen off, is going to say that he can go. That's going to happen. And, if he could at all, I know he had trouble gripping it. He clearly, there with what we've heard since the game happened, he said he was unsure if he could make the throws he needed to make. But he didn't want to let the team down. It was a very difficult decision for him. But it was, his finger looked a little bit like a Pez dispenser when you were opening it. So it wasn't just a cut. It was a deep cut. He said he could see the sort of the bone of his finger back there. And, that's a one for Michael O'Shea and for Zach Collaros that I'm going to give him a pass on. Now, there is others, though, that I'm not going to question the quality of the coaches, but I do question the decisions. And the one I'll start with is when Zach was hurt, the start of the fourth quarter when it was a 4-point game and Zach was hurt, Terry Wilson came in. Now, Terry Wilson has thrown one pass in the CFL. One. They have Dolagallo on the bench. He doesn't come in. Terry Wilson does. So I question that decision. Then I question the play calling from Buck Pierce. Not the quality of the offensive coordinator. He's excellent and will continue to be excellent and is a candidate, I'm sure, for a head coaching job in the league. But I do question the decision to ask Terry Wilson to throw 4 passes in a row. I mean, you have Brady Oliveira that at that point in the game was rushing for 7.6 yards per carry. And you have an athletic, if you're going to put Terry Wilson in, you have an athletic quarterback that can run on the edges.
Don't ask Marcus Sales about that.
Well, I just, exactly. I'm just saying that I question the decision to call 4 plays that asked Terry Wilson to complete passes down the field. He got in one of those plays, he got a pass interference call, which gave him 2 more, and he still threw it with Brady Oliveira probably going, what the heck? Why? This is the time that he needed to be the man in the game, and he's the MOP of the league. So, I do question those decisions. But, from an Argos point of view, Ryan Dinwiddie is an outstanding head coach and a tremendous play caller, and maybe does not get enough credit, because Nick Arbuckle was a great story, and Nick Arbuckle played very well, but they didn't ask Nick Arbuckle to win the game. They didn't ask him to put together a drive that, goes 60 yards with no time on the clock and finishes with a touchdown throw. That wasn't asked of him because of the way the defense played. And because of the play calling, it didn't put Arbuckle in an uncomfortable situation. So I think he needs to get a lot of credit. The Argos have the formula. Here's a message to all the teams in the West that aren't the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. The Argos have the formula to beating the Bombers. They beat them 3 times this year. And I just thought the play calling was excellent. And one thing, guys, that I want to make a point of, it'll get the media all mad at me again, which they always are anyway, but it doesn't matter. Arbuckle wasn't, to me, the MVP of the game.
No.
I thought he played great. He played a very good game, and the play calling helped him in that regard. But Wynn McManus was the best player on the field. And Wynn McManus, early in the game, that wasn't really talked about too much, made some plays on Dembski in the passing game for first downs and denied them that were huge in the momentum of that game. And so I thought Wynn McManus was the best player on the field for both teams.
Oh, he disrupted a lot of things. And the Argos should hold some sort of summer camp for Western teams.
Yeah, I agree. And so DA here, Glenn, and me watching the game, obviously fun as a Rider fan to watch Winnipeg lose, and we can talk about all the way Winnipeg lost. But it was impressive. Like, to me, it just felt like Toronto knew what they were doing, and Winnipeg was trying to figure it out. And so when you talk about game plan and coaching and being prepared, that was the feel, right? Is that Winnipeg was struggling with, what are we trying to do here? Whereas always looked like Toronto knew what they were trying to do. And it, we focused a lot on Winnipeg going 5 times, but Toronto really has put together a run here that's impressive.
Yeah, I think the main part of their formula really is they have put the emphasis in the offseason on building their D-line every year. And if they lose a guy, they find a new guy. Arimolade comes to mind there. And they're not just worried about their front four, they're worried about the top 7 D linemen. Because all 7 on their team could be all-stars, basically, if they played the whole game in and game out. I think that's where they start when they build their team. And their physicality, when you add Wynn McManus at the middle in front of those D linemen, they really they control the pace of the game. They take over the pace of the game. And Zach Collaros was sacked, I think, a couple of times in the Grey Cup, but he, in the other 2 games, was sacked 12 times by that D-line. So I think that's where they start. As far as the one team looked like they knew what they were doing, I think defensively they have so much confidence in their physicality and their pressure up front that their DBs can take some bigger chances. And they did that in the game, especially late. It also illustrated to me, though, guys, that a few things. One, this Grey Cup illustrated the parity in the league. When you're a 9.5-point favorite and you lose by 18 or whatever it was, like, there is great parity. Number 2, nothing is entitled in sports. You're entitled to nothing. So you have to go out and earn it every single time, every single snap. And we learned that with the momentum they had, and it also, to me, illustrated this game, the razor thin margins when it comes to, the accuracy of your quarterback. That interception to Amos, when Zach came in with the glove on, which he's never worn as a Bomber starter, he went in with that glove and was off by 2 yards on this throw. Like, it maybe even a yard. But that was it, Barney. I mean, he was off by a yard, and Amos takes that back. The throw to Dembski that was picked off by Priester, who took it to the house, that was off by half a yard.
It's almost like there was...
The razor-thin margins are incredible.
Gust of wind came. Okay, so we're up against the clock. We got about a minute left. Kellen has one for you.
Yeah. Glenn, Kellen here, as Barney said. Quick question. With Ed Hervey coming in Edmonton here, what do you think that means for Elks, and who's coming along?
Who's coming along as far as the coach?
Is the coach? Is he bringing Rick Campbell with him? Is he bringing Vernon Adams there? What do you think? Look down the kaleidoscope and tell us what Glen Suitor thinks.
Well, I'll be interested to hear when he's asked, and we see it publicly, his response to the question that will inevitably come. It'll probably be the first one out of the gate. What do you think of Trey Ford? That will be the first question. that Ed Hervey as the GM will be facing, because that will dictate how he answers that question. Will dictate to me what head coach has the real opportunity to get in. Is it going to be a new guy, or is it going to be Jarius Jackson? As far as Ed Hervey goes, I think it's a very good hire because he knows the game. He's got his scouts already set up. He's got that whole network already built. But this is another one, and it's a big one when you're talking about Edmonton. He knows the old style Edmonton football, like what is expected in that organization back in the days when, he was on the tail end of it, yes, and then they started to really struggle. But he did understand the Edmonton way, and that's important.
So much there that I want to get to. We're up against a break. We're going to have to do this again on Thursday, Glenn.
It's going to happen fast and quick, Barney, with these quarterbacks. And
I know
free agency is February, but there's some guys that'll probably be traded. Vernon Adams would have to be traded. The answer on Trey Ford from Ed Hervey is going to be very interesting. That'll probably be the next day or two.
I'd be funny if he starts the press conference with, "I'm not going to answer any questions about the quarterbacks." Pull one of those moves. All right, Glenn, we'll catch up Thursday, buddy. See you later.
Thanks, guys.